Okay, Tikwan, now you can continue with some basic information about lecture this session.
Well, one thing that I think is interesting when we go through things like the materia medica pura, this
Right.
is proving data, right, guys? What's interesting, one thing is that Hahnemann mentions over and over and over again a word called grain. For example, a dose of the smallest part of a drop containing the decillionth of a grain of white arsenic usually suffices for the cure. In order to prepare this dose, 1 grain of white arsenic reduced to powder is rubbed up with 33 grains of powdered milk sugar in a porcelain mortar, unglazed, with an unglazed pestle for 6 minutes, right? So he's saying you use 1 grain of arsenic with 33 grains of lactose. But what is the quantity of a grain? How much is a grain? Anybody know?
0.63 gram, ma'am.
Very good. Yeah, so he's talking about the old-fashioned grain, which is basically equivalent to a piece of wheat grain. You know how you have your pieces of wheat grain that you cook? He's talking like that, a grain. And sometimes he talks about using 1 grain, like we have right here, to use 1 grain of arsenic with 33 grains of lactose. Other times he's talking about using a portion of a grain in order to make a medicine, especially when it's things that are succussed. So just to know that word, how much a grain is really useful. So he's taking a grain and then titurating it and then taking a very small portion of that grain and then putting that in water alcohol solutions and succussing it before taking a tiny portion of that and putting it on sack lac, drying it, and then putting it in a bottle, and then taking 1 of those pellets and putting that in water again and diluting it from anywhere from 8 to 40 tablespoons of water and using that as a medicinal dose, which is tremendously reducing the amount of quantity of the substance.
Right. And that is much more important to have a minimal dose.
Yeah, we are reducing the dose, and reducing the dose to make sure that there are no aggravations and that the dynamic range of the medicine is developed to its fullest potential. For example, Boninghausen mentions about the sphere of action enlarges the higher the dynamization is carried. And that the most striking in these remedies in which their raw state excites few symptoms. For example, calc, silica, natmir, aurum, argentum, alumina, etc., where their effect in the 30th potency is good, but in the 200th of these is even better. So when we take that small grain and put it with, for example, arsenicum here has the basic foundation for how to prepare medicinal substance. So we have here the grain, and that would be like essentially a wheat kernel with 33 of the same amount of milk sugar, and you rub and scrape and rub and scrape. Do you want to go over that process, Sanjay?
Do you mean for making medicine from fluctuations?
Yeah. You want to go through that about
No, not
how?
not actually right now.
Okay.
But I would
So,
like to start that session with understanding what the issues the people usually have in selecting potencies or when to use a centesimal scale or when to use Lm potency.
okay, we can talk about that.
And first thing, to understand why Hahnemann has been suggesting to switch on from this um potency, centesimal potency to Lm potency, because he already been suggesting water dosing of a centesimal scale in fifth organon.
Yeah, this is a really important thing to remember is that Hahnemann before the sixth organon and the fifth organon, and in the before even the fifth organon was produced, Hahnemann was advising water potency only in the chronic diseases. And that is something to know. That's very important to dilute your medicine so that it's not too strong.
Why he suggested water doses?
To prevent aggravation or to avoid aggravations, if any, in sensitive people.
Yeah, but earlier we see that before fifth organon there was only use of dry doses. Means before fifth, dry doses, right, of centesimal scale only,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
But in the chronic diseases, Hahnemann tells us to use water. And the chronic diseases was written before the fifth edition of the Organon. Fifth edition of the Organon centers a little bit more on olefaction, which is yet a valuable method. So after the sixth edition of the Organon came out, Hahnemann in practice, we can see from his Paris case books, was using
Turn off your microphone.
Hahnemann was using a mixture of centesimal potencies
Mm-hmm.
in olefaction and in water. And
Mm-hmm.
then he was using Lm potencies as well. And he told Boninghausen how to make Lm potencies, but told him not to tell it to anybody else because it was coming out in the sixth edition of the Organon. So Boninghausen and then on up until the early 20th century, everybody was using centesimal potencies, either by olefaction or if they were still using the fourth organon methods, like Kent propagated, they were using dry dosing. But the whole methodology of putting things like an olefaction, putting them in water, diluting, rediluting, is just all to minimize the amount of the medicine and to make the dose more dynamic and less material. Because Hahnemann says that a material dose can harm the body, it can harm the organs. So you've got a lot of people who are using very low potencies and sometimes mother tinctures, but at the same time, Hahnemann's saying that this can damage organs. So we
Exactly.
have some incongruence here of what we should be doing and what is proper homeopathy and what is somewhat dangerous.
Right. So we see in fourth organon he suggested dry dosing. Third organon, it was like not even repeating of doses, right?
Yeah, it was
And
that watch and wait.
wait and watch concept was adopted. They used to prescribe the medicine and they used to wait for weeks and months. So patient might need, he might be in the pain, but they were not giving any other medicine.
Yeah, there's a joke that was like 30 years ago, I remember, about give the medicine high and dry and then unplug your phone while the patient is in their aggravation to make sure that their thing worked. And that is just really, really bad, in my opinion, because Hahnemann worked so hard to minimize any aggravation as much as possible. And that an aggravation shouldn't really occur, but there will be some slight return of symptoms. And when there are return of symptoms, we know the medicine has worked very deeply and very nicely, and that we are well on our way to improvement and or cure.
Right.
Is my microphone working properly?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm having a little problem with my headphones. Okay,
Okay.
so reducing the dose and preventing aggravation is one of our things that is so important to do. We don't want our patients to suffer. We want to do everything we can to prevent it, just like Hahnemann did. And he worked so hard at that we should really be paying attention, sit up straight and say, wow, let's see what Hahnemann says about this and try to replicate it.
Basically, we see he was about to tell everyone that we as a homeopath or a physician should able to prescribe the remedy whenever patients have a need of the remedy. Right. If patient is in pain and he needs the medicine, so we homeopaths should able to prescribe the remedy. And in earlier ways, even before um, fifth edition, it was not they were not supposed, because if they were prescribing the same dry dose again, the patient used to have an medicinal aggravation with along with those symptoms which he has already elevated from the disease, might not need the same remedy. So they were not able to prescribe the remedy when the patient is needed. So he was at then thought of that we should able to prescribe at least same medicine. So the and main suggestion, he was suggested that dry dose should be avoided. So when we have a aim that we shouldn't use dry dose, and we need to have a slight change in the dynamization. What is the method?
Yes, a very, very slight change in the dynamization makes the vital force receptive again to the medicine. It increases the receptivity. I don't know if that's not the right word. Receptiveness. What would the word be? Receptivity, receptiveness.
Receptive.
Yeah, so as we redynamize each dose, the body takes it in again like it's a new remedy, and like it's a new dose without repeating the same exact dose. There's only a couple of times where we might repeat the exact dose, and that's with only a few remedies. For example, Ignatia, Bryonia, and Rus sometimes need to have the exact same remedy and the exact same potency given twice before deciding how well it's acting. But other than that, we don't want to do that. We always need to change it very gently. We don't want to take these big jumps, like from 30 to 200 to 1M, because that in itself is shocking to the vital force. But when we have a water dose and we have, a nice quantity between, 7 to 14 tablespoons of water, maybe even 40 tablespoons of water, and we give that a couple of succussions, we can do this with C potency and Lm potency. So the methodology is somewhat the same, depending, with C and Lm, because in either case, we want to use water and we want to succuss the dose between giving it. So it's not the same, but it's just slightly higher, just ever so slightly, so that the body receives it really, really nicely and gently.
Yeah. And then we saw in fifth edition he suggested water dosing, but potency was the same that in the fifth organon. It was and so here we see that centesimal potency was given instead of dry dose, it was given in water dose. Somewhat of intention was succeed to give an multiple doses, redynamize doses to the person, right? But still after some time there was a huge block ahead he faces. What was the block? Because he was not able to go on to the back lower potencies, and then he was not able to even move forward after certain time, because same even in the liquid potency the person was having an aggravation. Means it was like that the patient was having symptoms, it was not going, you are having only option to move forward, same potency was not working, and when you are giving another redynamite dose, you will you have an aggravation, you don't have option to move on to a very long jump like from 200 to 1m potency on centesimal scale. When 200 potency was giving aggravation, probably 1m is not a good choice. So what he had to do now? Then he thought that we should have a higher dilution. What is mean by higher dilution? Higher dilution, Radhika?
Medicine, even less quantity of medicine, further minimizing the material medicine.
Right. But do you know, we know what is proportion of centesimal scale?
1:99.
1 to 99, right? And from what base potency is being used? Sorry, is being prepared. It's if everyone remembers, it's 3C, which is called as mother of all potencies. Even C potencies are prepared from that, and even LM potencies are also prepared from this 3C, right? So basically we see the methodology of preparation of LM potency not exactly we find in any of the homeopathic pharmacopoeia, but Hahnemann has make very clear notes in his organon of sixth edition, right? In fifth we see preparation of centesimal scale. So what part of means mode of preparation of Lm potency in which aphorism do we see? It's in aphorism 270 and 271, and also in some parts of footnotes 250 to 257. So we will not go into much detail how it is prepared because nowadays homeopath doesn't prepare their own medicines.
But we should know how. Because, like, for example, in America and in other countries, from time to time, they have discussions about not providing homeopathic medicine for us any longer. And therefore, if we know how to titrate something to a 3C and then turn it into an LM, that is a very, very important thing. So we can find that in the footnote of aphorism 270. And we never know, especially in some other countries than India, when we might need that actually, where we might need to go
Yeah,
out and
because
harvest plants.
I have seen when you get an prepared medicine from pharmaceutical companies, in LM potency we have very limited number of medicines. Say only there are 100 medicines available, near about 100, 120 medicine like that, right? So and the potencies in between LM is 01 to 030, right? But I have seen some patient like autoimmune disease or some you can say ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease needs very large number of doses, and so you cannot repeat that LM potency beyond. Okay, you cannot repeat beyond 100 successions because page potency automatically jumps uh, to the next potency. If you are using 01, then it will go automatically jump, but you cannot give the same uh, after say 120, 100 or above 100 successions.
Yeah, so after 100 succussions, if you don't have new stock, because for example, I only have LM1 potency stock. So I just, dump it out and then refill it again. And that little tiny bit left in the residual of the bottle is enough to produce an LM2.
Yeah.
But you
And
guys have far more potency selection and ability to get medicines than I do where I am. It's just ever so much easier.
even in India, if the patient in need of say LM 40 or LM 45, there is no medicine available in any of the pharmaceutical in the world. What we can do? We need to prepare our own doses, own medicines, right?
Has anybody ever used an LM40?
In practice, I think more than 15 or 20 doesn't need, ma'am. In my case,
Basically, I
rarely.
could, Shiva,
Yes, sir.
let me complete small part. Huh?
Yes,
Because
sir. Yes.
yes,
Yeah, I was just curious if anybody's ever had to go that far, because I haven't ever needed to go
no,
that
some
far.
people see basically, um, we have seen that the category low potencies, mid potencies, and higher potency. We see in we see in centesimal scale like 3, 6, 12, and 30. Please turn off your microphones. Hello?
I'm here. I'm the only one with the microphone on.
Okay.
We're fine.
I missed the point actually. Okay, we will see. As we see in centesimal scale, we have lower potencies 3, 6, 12, right? We have mid potency like 30, and then we start from 200. Actually, 200 falls in higher potency, lowest of higher potency. Then 1M, 1M, 10M, 50M, CM. Okay, same category we can see in LM, but here there is a no long jump from 01 to 08 or 9, basically 08. It's denoted as lower potencies, and from 08 to 12 considered as mid potencies, and above 13, LM13 been considered as higher potencies among LM. So many people who are have those favoritism of using higher potencies or mid potencies might start LM dosing from like say 010 or 0 by 12, like that. I have seen one of the physician from where was he? I think he was from Delhi. He started using from LM25 and he went up to 35. So how you go to beyond 30 when you don't have medicine? Tikva just gave an idea how we can
Well,
use that means
if theoretically we needed to do that, which I doubt the theory behind it, if theoretically we did want to do that, what we would do would be to take the starting dose that we had in the highest potency, and then we could give 100 succussions per bottle, dump it out until there's basically nothing in it, and then refill it with our 10, 12, 20, 40 tablespoons of water, whatever we're using, and then continue, because every 100 succussions changes the potency where it needs to be dumped out.
okay. Now I could like to just go beyond on the pharmacy part.
I have an interesting thing that Boninghausen says here about one of the really good benefits to using medicines dissolved in water every time shaken anew.
Yeah, continue.
Okay. A defective diet, which especially in cities and in the higher ranks, frequently spoils the best cures. Always does less damage the higher the dynamization is. And least of all, if a minute dose dissolved in water and every time shaken anew is taken several times in succession. And so Hahnemann is saying that, not Hahnemann, Boninghausen is mentioning that, sometimes we have people that have a lot of outside influence that we're trying to treat. They'll have, like diets and they're having too many spices, or they're exposed to too many chemicals and things like that. So, we have a slightly different situation happening this day and age. People are subject to radiation and different types of toxins that they weren't ever exposed to before. And we can overcome some of the limitations of that watch and wait by redosing as much as needed in a water dose. And I think that that is a brilliant observation from the mid 1800s that is even more useful today. It helps us overcome limitations and interference with the remedy. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody? Radhika?
You keep calling on her because she has her picture open. There's a lot of
Right.
other people here.
But I don't see the other people. One is Shivakumar, and she is only responding in the live discussion.
Devera, are you there? Sultana,
Sir,
are you
am.
there?
I'm here.
Oh, she is here.
Yeah, she's here. You can call on her too.
Actually, I have that speaker's view, so I don't see how many people are on the screen.
And that's why you keep picking on Radhika and asking her the
And,
questions.
We
yeah.
have 24 participants today.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So yeah, so we want to reduce the dose and we want to put it in water and we want to be able to give it to the person so that the vital force accepts it gently and happily as often as we need to give it. But we don't need to redose as long as there is a perceptible progression in the case.
Right.
But as soon as the case ceases to progress, then we want to consider some succussions and the redose of our water bottle. You just want to keep the case moving slowly and gently, progressively going slightly higher with each dose without overwhelming the person and without producing any new symptoms. So as long as no new symptoms are produced, and we just need to keep slowly moving towards the cure. So this is called speeding the cure, because what
Exactly.
might take 40, 50, or 60 days can be accomplished in a fraction of that time by careful manipulation of the medicine.
Exactly. And one more important thing in related with this part, whatever you said, in aphorism 246, right?
Yep,
It's been mentioned.
246. Want me to read it?
Yeah, here actually, what Hahnemann suggests was when you are giving a single dose of any potency or sorry, any medicine, it might be well selected or it is well, what you call, sufficient to cause an amelioration or recovery in the patient, and it might take like say 40, 60, 70, 90, 100 days, and it's good for physician and as well as patient to reduce this time say in 50% or 1/3 part, means like you can complete those 100 days in 50 or 30 days or 20 days, say, right? But what we need to, how you achieve this means recovery too fast, running towards the cure, right?
Yeah, how to speed the dose.
Speed up the dose,
Speed the
right?
cure.
Yeah.
Speed the cure with gentle redynamizations of a water potency. will make that cure happen faster. And with an acute, it's sometimes you only need to stay to 1 or 2 doses anyway.
Yeah, here he says,
This is with the
Yes.
chronic.
yeah, he has told the both options how to use in chronic and how to use in the acute, right? The basic need is to prescribe the remedy when the patient has need for the remedy, right? And another thing, you need to go on dosing until the vitality responds, and then you still go on dosing until that progress is, you see that it's moving forward slowly and gently, and then you, when you feel that now it's sufficient, and otherwise you might add and some aggravated symptoms, that's not very um, severe aggravation, but some slight hiking of the symptom, right?
And when there's
So
a slight heightening of the symptoms, what we do is we back off and we
you
don't
need to
dose.
stop.
And
You
then,
need
yeah,
to stop.
right, we stop and we wait. And we see if any further medicine is needed in that medicine, or perhaps another medicine if a situation has changed. But like when somebody has been dosed by me, I'll ask them, do you have any new symptoms? Have any old symptoms returned? Or, yeah, new symptoms and old symptoms. Because anytime that there's new symptoms that have been added that are part of the medicine, you want to stop there. And the slight and any type of return of symptoms should be very slight and gentle. Maybe people won't even notice it if you're really careful with your dosing.
Yeah. And one more problem we see, when you are using this higher dilution, there is very much essential to understand few basic things. Now, see, when you are using low potencies and medicine is going and acting directly on the physical body, and it's going and unconditionally hitting that part, and we don't know actually that this potency is driving us, but we are not in control to drive that potency, right? So when you are using low potencies, say centesimal low potencies 30 or even below, you don't actually need to be on the accurate track, like exact minimum. If you take a 20 symptom 25 symptoms, say, and that remedy will act and probably will not act in the way that you should have it to be act on the exact symptom. It will act on, say, minor symptom first, or it might act on the major symptom first. But we as homeopaths should able to decide the where the potency or where the remedy should act first, on which symptom should it goes first.
Well, Hahnemann mentions that the first symptoms that should be relieved should be the newest ones in the case.
Yeah,
So how
but
does that fall into that? How do we
exactly,
rectify that? If we're
exactly,
taking 20 symptoms, how do we rectify that? Are those 20 symptoms all characteristic symptoms in the case?
not really.
Right. So then is it relevant?
Yeah, somewhat. Just I have given that example because a lot of homeopath use huge number of symptoms, and actually we need 2 to 3 a peculiar symptom in the case.
or at least characteristic enough to
Yeah,
be found in the proving data. Because the more things you can find in your proving data underneath in the remedy, the better your medicine's going to work. And that is the value of using proving data, guys. I mean, it's just, I can't underestimate it. And when we don't have proving data from Hahnemann in either the materia medica pura or the chronic diseases, we can go to Herring's guiding symptoms, because a lot of our remedies that we use today, especially the acute ones like gelsemium, are not in Hahnemann's provings, but they are in Herring's provings. And that is a very valuable tool to be able to find in the proving data what you need to cure. So keep
Yeah.
that in mind. But that's really actually another topic.
One more point. He talks about why the homeopath should stop dosing. Means here he talks about repetition of dosing, and again in another part he talks about when you see that progressive recovery or progressive recovery in the case, that time you should stop dosing. What happen if you don't stop dosing? It will not only give an aggravation, but it will also lengthen the recovery process.
Yeah, if you add a medicinal disease to the original disease, then it's not going to be a happy thing for you or your patient.
Right. So to have,
But we are way less likely to add a medicinal disease into a good dilution. When we have a really good hearty dilution in a good amount of water, the person's not likely to pick up accessory symptoms from the medicine. They're not likely to pick up proving symptoms. It's just way less likely. Thing is that we just don't want to give so much medicine that they start having a worsening of their symptoms. We only want to redose when improvement lessens or stops. So we have to be in very close contact with our patients before redosing. We need to kind of check on them, say, what's going on? Is anything new? Is anything different? What are you experiencing? Before automatically redosing, at least for me. In my practice, I can't just automatically redose. I just can't. It just doesn't work, because sometimes people need, a dose every 2 weeks. And if I were to say, take a dose of this every 3 days, that person just might, get really upset. It just might not work. We don't want to go there. I have to redose very, very, very carefully. Yeah, see, Devera says in her experience as well, that even one dose can cause an accessory symptom.
yeah, when there is a highly sensitive person, right? And
And also,
we see that when you are using low potency, and if you are even missing the exact simillimum, still that potency will have some effects on the body, right? But it doesn't happen with Lm potency, because it is highly dilution, and when dilution is very high and medicinal part is very low, that time you should be precise on that accuracy of homeopathic simillimum. If your symptoms are not exactly that, those peculiar or characteristic symptoms are not matching that remedial symptoms, even with those grading, then this potency is not going to act. So he has given some criteria when LM potency should be used, or how it should be used.
Sir, in 270, aphorism 270,
Yeah,
in the footnote G, Hanuman mentioned we can use Lm potency in all sick points. It may be acute, it may be chronic, it may be subacute,
exactly.
whatever may be the
Mhm.
problem, whatever may be the disease condition, we
Hmm.
can use Lm potency
Hmm.
invariably in
Hmm.
all sick points. He mentioned the word all sick points. Aphorism 270, section footnote G. Another
Yeah,
thing
right.
he mentioned, he requested homeopaths invariably in all cases. We should start Lm potency from the lowest one. That is, we should in every case we should start from Lm 0 bar 1 to higher, further higher.
Yeah, that is actually need to begin with low and gradually go ahead, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
But some people means they work on their own, or they go with mid potencies first, like they start from 0.5, 0.6 or 0.10,
but
right?
why?
That's wrong, sir. We should
Mhm.
start from the lowest one. That's what Hanuman mentioned.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we want to start
So
out lower and just gently raise the potency as needed with succussions. And then, when you're using an LM, this is an important thing to remember, is that you take approximately a tablespoon from your dilution bottle and put it into another cup, and then take a sip from that cup. You don't take it straight from the dilution bottle. You want to dilute it again.
we have criteria for LM potency. Do anyone know these criteria? How to use?
Yes, sir. It's so simple, sir.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
It's very very simple, sir. We should take for example, if a patient asks medicine for 15 days, simply we can calculate, we have to take 15 or 15 tablespoons of water in
No, 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 no. You are telling, I am asking,
uh,
when you have to use an LM potency, what should be the criteria?
that's what I mentioned, sir. Kahneman mentioned in 270G. Invariably we can start in all cases. It may be acute, it may be chronic. There is no criteria Hanuman mentioned to use. Some people's some solvers used to say you start LM potency in pathological cases, chronic cases, like that. But it's absolutely, that's not right, sir. It's not. Hanuman never mentioned so. Hanuman
Yeah,
mentioned,
right.
yes, sir.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
will
we
I
can
will
use it
like
in
to
all
I
situations,
Yeah,
but
he
it has to
mentioned.
be.
1 minute, 1 minute. 1 minute. I got in the aphorism 256, it has mentioned already, but I would like to summarize these points. Um when you have suggested by Hahnemann to use this new potency, new method, he called this perfected method, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
he suggested that a remedy should be perfectly simillimum. First point.
But that's not hard to do if you are working off proving data and only taking things that are characteristic into your analysis, instead of all this random stuff that people like to put together as saying, oh, well, this person, they like to eat salty food. I mean, the salty food has to actually be a pathological desire for salt. instead of the person likes salty more than they like sweet, blah, blah, blah. These aren't symptoms. Symptoms have to be something that's characteristic, that really stands out, and that can actually be matched with proving data, as opposed to being a vague thing like I feel kind of like this or kind of like that. It has to be concrete. We need concrete facts. And the better our concrete facts are that we have gathered during our case taking, the less amount of symptoms we're going to have just kind of like filling up a repertory page. We
Yeah.
need to be more exact with our prescriptions.
And he mentioned remedy should be perfectly homeopathic, not wrong remedy or partial simillimum. It should be very accurately precise remedy. So when you are about to select this LM potency, you should be this. You cannot select an partial simillimum remedy, right? Second point, this potency should be used in water doses, diluted in water. Dry dose shouldn't be used. Okay. Who's Dr. Yashwantrao Patil?
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Okay. Do you have
Please, you
question?
continue your point. Then I want to ask you a kind question.
Yeah, sure, sir.
You complete your point, sir, please.
Okay. Second is remedy is potentize and dissolve in water. Dry dose shouldn't be used, right? Then remedy should be given in very small doses. A very small doses. What is mean by small doses?
Well, small doses would be with a good dilution and then taking like a teaspoon or a tablespoon from that dilution and put into another cup of water containing, let's say, 10, 12, 14 tablespoons, and then taking a small fraction of that and using that as a dose.
Right. And fourth point, remedy should be given in the suitable interval.
That means monitoring your patient very carefully to see when and if they need a redose.
Yeah, you should monitor, and you are a physician, treating physician, to make a decision when to use and how much to use, how much to redose. There is no scale or standard to give 10 dose or 20 dose or 5 dose. The homeopath should make their own decisions according to the condition of the patient.
Yeah, the signs and symptoms displayed by the patient guide us in our treatment. That's what they're there for. The
And
vital
last,
force shows us what we need to do, and we need to be observant and respond along with that person. We're on the journey with the person, and we follow everything that goes on with them, and then we respond accordingly.
and
In
fifth
best case
point,
scenario.
yeah. And fifth point, he mentioned a degree of dynamization must change in each and every dose.
Always success between doses, even if you're using a C potency. The C scale always success between doses. Never, never repeat the same dose, with the exception of a few things like Ignatia, Bryonia, Rus, occasionally Belladonna. Some of these you need to have 2 doses before you can assess the situation. But that is the exception.
So now just Kritika, can you read that 246?
Can I read 246?
Yeah. A
I
quick
can.
review.
Okay. Every perceptibly progressive and strikingly increasing amelioration during treatment is a condition which, as long as it lasts, completely precludes every repetition of the administration of any medicine whatsoever, because all the good of the medicine taken continues to affect, now hastening towards its completion. This is not infrequent the case in acute disease, but more chronic diseases, on the other hand, a single dose of an appropriately selected homeopathic remedy will at times complete even, but with slowly progressive improvement, and give the help which such a remedy in such a case can accomplish naturally within 40, 50, 60, 100 days. This is, however, but rarely the case. And besides, it must be a matter of great importance to the physician, as well as to the patient, that were it possible, this period should be diminished to 1/2, 1/4, and still less, so that much more rapid cure may be obtained. And this may be very happily effected, as recent and as often repeated observations have taught me, under the following conditions. First, the medicine selected with the utmost care was perfectly homeopathic. Second, if it is highly potentized, dissolved in water, and given in proper small doses, that experience is taught as the most suitable in definite intervals for the quickest accomplishment of the cure, but with the precaution that the degree of every dose deviates somewhat from the preceding and following, in order that the vital principle, which is to be altered to a similar medicinal disease, not be aroused to untoward reactions and revolt, as is always the case with unmodified and especially rapidly repeated doses.
Okay, in this aphorism, we see all these points that what he has suggested, right? Okay. Dr. Yashwantrao Patil, you can continue.
Sir, my question is, first of all, thank you a lot for giving me an opportunity, and thanks to the departments for being to explore actual Hahnemannian homeopathy.
Okay.
So, sir, my question is whether it is possible. You said about aphorism 246, 256, ki accurate similum or perfect similum. Is it really possible? Because we are having medicines which are partially proved, though it is thoroughly proved, but it is not proved up to the level of pathologies. One question. Another thing is that whatever the remedies or proving data we are having, not a single patient is giving all the data. Same way, in proving, not each remedy is proved, all symptoms are not being found in the single prover. So how it can be possible as a saying that perfect similar or accurate similum?
Yeah, I understand that your question.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to explain. When we have, we've gone through our case taking and we've selected a few quality things that are characteristic. They have good modalities that they're clearly indicated. When you have a clear indication for a remedy, then it is a similum. This idea of there being a perfect similum is more of a Kentian idea than a Hahnemannian idea, because the disease state changes and sometimes needs a series of remedies instead of there being one perfect lifetime remedy. This is not a Hahnemannian concept. But if we have a few good quality characteristics of a remedy, of symptoms in a remedy, and we can match it up with the proving data, then that is, Hahnemannian
all those
speaking.
all those concerned symptoms which are vital and which are more troublesome symptom, which
But you know what? I'm gonna what's it called about that? I'm gonna differ with that, because sometimes when I just have a person just talking randomly, I'll pick up some symptoms. And these can be observational symptoms. These can be, they're not necessarily things that people have told us, because sometimes people don't know what a symptom is and they might not be troubling them. I mean, for example, let's say that a woman has her period every 42 days and it's only for 2 days with very, very light bleeding. She's not going to complain about that, but we can say, oh, we have good symptomology here, even though she has not complained. So after we've taken a thorough and complete case, then we select what is actually pathological from the patient, as opposed to what they have complained about, because what they complain about might be something that's more minor. Anybody got me on that?
Dr. Yashwantra?
Now, he said that with aphorism 171 suggests a series of antisporic remedies. Well, yeah, that's very true, especially with an older person, for sure. We often need a few different remedies with an older person, or somebody who's been quite ill, or somebody who has a mixed medicinal disease with their spora, or they have other types of mixed diseases, or
Yeah.
very old, but if you see a small child, they might just only need some calc carb and then go along their way, and then you see them again in a couple of years. So it really depends on the health, the vitality, the age, whether or not they've had a lot of medications. Depends on a lot of different things.
Okay.
But yeah, oftentimes we do need a series of antisporic remedies, for sure. Not at all uncommon. And so when we have that similum, when we need a
Series of remedies, right?
yeah, but that is, if you're using the proving data, it will be fully homeopathic, as long as you're not just like out there on left field.
Right.
There's a lot of things to take into consideration with our case taking, with what we select as an important symptom. Because not everything that a patient complains about is actually a usable symptom.
And
What I understood from, sir, please continue.
no, continue. It's part of your question.
What I understood from the Hahnemann literature, organon, Dr. Hahnemann is telling about partial similar remedies and imperfectly selected through the aphorism 167 to 171 and 182 to 187. So at both this group of aphorisms, Dr. Hahnemann is telling about partially selected remedy and imperfectly selected remedy. So how we can manage with partial simillimum? So if you consider Hahnemannian thought process and the accurate knowledge regarding the proving, up to what extent he is doing the proving, and the set of symptoms provers are giving, the set of symptoms patient is giving at one point of time. So it is actually the concept of exact or perfect simillimum bring or brought by the other authors, especially Dr. Kent, as
Right.
Dr. Sassoon has correctly said. Agreed.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say. That was exactly my point.
And another thing is that it is not necessary also. If you correctly perceive the Hahnemannian work, it is not necessary, because at one point of time, patient is giving us a one totality, one set of symptoms, which we have to consider, and we have to give a medicine, which is apparently similar to that state. If you see in Organon, 5th and 6th edition, combined edition was there in Dudgeon's book, 107 places he's writing about the state of health and state of disease or morbid state. Everywhere he's saying about considering the morbid state only.
Right.
And also in the proving, also while the case taking, while the giving the medicine, while in the follow-ups, everywhere is telling about the state. what other people's, what other stalwarts have done, considering person as a whole, considering personality, considering constitutions. I think this is not in the Hahnemanian work.
Right.
Yeah,
if you
you're
search
absolutely right. Mhm.
if we search Hahnemanian work, the word for the personality or constitution, there is only one reference given in the Organ of Medicine 6th edition about the constitution in the aphorism 5.
Yeah,
So these things actually says or tells us very clearly that we are really diverting from the Hahnemanian work, and in this process we have lost the simplicity.
Right. Right.
yes, because we
I
are
agree.
always looking at the current disease state,
Right.
the morbid state, and matching with the morbid state that is present in the patient to the morbid state that is developed during the proving data. And we want to match those two things up. And then it becomes, as you know, Boninghausen says, almost mathematical. And they
Yeah.
really
Dr.
should,
Hahnemann himself tell simillimum is very simple. In aphorism 53, if you see his footnote, homeopathy is so certain, cure is so certain as if we are joining two dots with single line.
Mm-hmm. Yep, between one dot and another with a straight line. Yep,
Yes,
you're
correct.
absolutely right. Yeah, so we don't need to be looking at all those other things. We just
Very
want to
good.
look at what the current disease state is. And then that way we have our similum because we can see clearly what that is. We can clearly match that up to our proving data. And then we can say, well, yeah, obviously this medicine should work. And we're not looking at the personality. And even when somebody has a disease in the emotional state, we're still going to be looking at the concrete symptoms there instead of their feelings per se. Because let's say somebody's having a panic attack. You want to ask, okay, go through that panic attack and explain how it happens. You know, what leads up to it? What kinds of things happen? You know, you want to find out how the heart palpitations are. Are they in the chest? Are they in the stomach? These are the kinds of things that are characteristic. You know, whether or not, you know, there's rapid breathing and when there's rapid breathing, you want to elicit the characteristics. And we don't want to so much go into everybody's feelings about all the different things. You know, it's very, very popular nowadays that people want to have like psychoanalysis along with their homeopathic treatment. And if you're a very concrete homeopath, people are going to be like, you know, what's up with this homeopath? But it actually, you know, we get much better results by being very, very concrete.
Why Hahnemann used the word disease state instead of using morbid signs and symptom? Why he used the word morbid state instead of using morbid signs and symptoms?
Anyone?
Can I try?
Of course. Yeah, you're here to talk. We're all here to talk.
You can turn
Open
on
forum,
your
guys.
camera. Dr. Patil, you can turn on your camera.
Okay.
Yeah, we're here to have an open discussion. And everybody's opinion and concern matters.
Okay.
So, considering state and symptoms of the state, symptoms gives us some totality, and the totality forms the state. So that's why the state is important than the total, this only set of symptoms. Many times, patient gives us number of symptoms, but all those symptoms are not important to consider in the selection of the remedy.
Very
That's
good.
why we have to consider state. I will give you the example. Suppose a patient coming to us repeatedly for the same symptoms, say very recently, I have treated one case of repeated subluxation of elbow joints in 3 years old girl. So the problem of that girl is not told by that girl. The parents are telling us. They are telling that this joint is get dislocated repeatedly, isn't it? So when the person is coming to us, they are telling about the symptoms. But actually, beyond that symptoms, we have to find out the exact state. Why it is happening? Why there is in a so small girl, there is a weakness which are causing the subluxation or dislocation of that elbow joint. So it person or the attending that parents they are giving us the symptom dislocation, but why this is happening that we have to find out, and there is actually the state forms. So we have to treat that weakness of that organ with antiseptic remedy, then only it will get treated. If you consider that the dislocation of the joint repeatedly will come across the remedies like Therastox, like Ruta, but it will not cure it completely. So here the concept of miasms comes. So this most of the time this happens. Suppose the person is coming that last time before 1 month that baby come up with cough and cold. Again before that 3 months again this, with same complaint the baby came. Before 6 months before with same complaint. Every time he is giving us the symptoms, cough and cold, or something viral like fevers, like symptoms. But if we treat those symptoms repeatedly, we are not going to actually cure the disease, the patient.
That's right. It's very,
We
very
have to
important that we need
consider
to go
the
to the chronic.
totality or that complete process, what is going on repeatedly. So the tendency we have to treat. So it gives actually the state.
So it mean group of that is totality of morbid and signs and symptoms of the morbid condition of the patient is called morbid state.
For the word's sake, it can be say in a different way, but the concept is what I am telling.
Okay, so I want to know to understand the word state in Hanuman's perspective. That's what I want.
Actually, what Hahnemann mean in state, morbid state, he's talking about individualized morbid totality of the person. Means like Dr. Patil told that in 153 it has been mentioned that you need those symptoms, and those will be a complete symptom like that. Means complete symptom which has modalities, which will be very clear characteristics, peculiar things, and which present that person at a different individual. And this peculiar state, sorry, individualized morbid state of the person actually uh, is much needed to for a homeopathic recovery.
Yeah, I mean, Yashandro here was saying about how somebody comes with reoccurring colds. We know that we need an antisporic remedy for reoccurring colds. We don't just treat the cold, treat the cold, treat the cold, treat the cold again and again and again and again. We need to knock that out, that propensity with an antisporic remedy.
And every time he is told when to use an antisoric remedy. And when you need to have an miasmatic remedy, other miasmatic remedy. But that is another part of discussion talking on miasms. So I would not go on to that. Right. So now we will basically uh, this part. Do anyone have any other questions regarding this basic understanding of Lm potency, why he has suggested, and how to use in the case? So now we can.
I just want to say one more time that we don't want to just go around and around and around treating the presenting disease state with, let's say, a cold, or like the other example, like there's some talk in a group about children getting worms. You know, we want to actually go to the root cause, which is the miasmic cause of why children are getting worms, instead of going round and round and round and giving Telluricum or Cyna again and again and again with each bout of worms. And we want to, let's say, give calc or give sulfur or whatever's indicated here to stop that cycle from reoccurring. And we can do that with, you know, C scale or LM scale. But the important thing is being able to do it slowly and gently and efficiently with re-dynamized water doses. Oh, Sanjay, were you giving us a demonstration of how to make a water bottle?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we will have a demonstration, but before that, I could like to learn how other peoples are using this method, means how they are making their dose. Anybody?
Well, I have been giving LM potency less during Corona because I've been seeing so many people online, and it's harder for them to get LM potencies quickly and efficiently over the internet and with shipping and everything than it is for them to go to their local store and ask for a remedy. So I've been using a lot more C potency in dilution than I have been using LM, because there's a lot less people coming to my office to treat. It's been a lot of remote work. And let's say I'm treating somebody in America, I can say, you know, I need you to go and get some belladonna in a 30C. And there are stores that are easy to access for them to go and buy that. As opposed to, I want you to order from Washington Pharmaceuticals LM1 of belladonna, which is then going to take them a week. Because I don't have people coming in here so much. But either way, I never do dry dosing, ever. I just don't. I haven't used a dry dose for maybe 15 years.
Oh, it's nice.
Well, as soon as I really, really read the organon and the chronic diseases carefully, that's when I got those tips, right? Because, you know, a lot of us were just kind of trained at the, you know, high and dry, turn off your phone, ignore the person until they come in for their follow-up, which is kind of sad. But now we have better things going on.
Yes, ma'am. In for some 246 footnote, Hanuman strictly wants the repetition of identical dose.
I have some. Can you read this? I don't know whether you can see this. This all instructions to how to use. Huh? No, it's not readable, right?
Well, if I take up my glasses and I sit really, really, really close, try again.
No, I know it's not readable.
Sir, please share, sir.
Not quite readable. Nope, no can do.
No, I will share.
Yes, Devera. Yes, he did. He did repeat dry dose, but no, rarely was there a dry dose. He usually put it in water. You have that book, right? That talks about, we lost a couple of people out of the group with this book when I posted a couple of Boninghausen's cases, because he goes from one remedy to another in a short period of time. And we lost a couple of people because they were just like terrified that there was terrible, terrible homeopathy. And I'm like, oh man, how can anybody say that, Bonninghausen's methods, what he was doing, how could they say that his cases were terrible? You know what I mean? Do you remember that, Devera? There were people that left because they were just so shocked and horrified.
No, I don't believe I didn't even hear, I didn't participate in that.
No, you
One.
weren't there. Yeah,
Was
there were
I?
a couple of people. I don't know. I don't remember, but I just remember there being just like shock and awe about
So I don't remember. So
Bonninghausen's
so
cases.
I don't remember, and I am, because I'm reading it now, and I am a little bit shocked. So can you just take a moment just to explain?
About how
And then
would
he also
sometimes
gives alternate days. He also gives different medicines and alternate days. And I am
Mhm.
in shock and not sure what's going on.
Well, that's what he felt was the right thing to do. And he did a lot of remote work. So, but, I can't really complain about what he does. He got good results. Maybe we should be a little bolder.
Okay.
He worked very deeply with the provings.
But I noticed he would also repeat even when there was an improvement.
Yeah, he
And
did. Uh-huh.
right. So, but that doesn't go along with what Hahnemann taught. So
Well, if you look at some of Hahnemann's cases, he's also rapidly moving through remedies.
Yeah.
and we go slowly and not rapidly. So how do we explain that?
Actually, Bonninghausen repeated, I think Bonninghausen used a series of remedies in, for example, 5 packets, 5 different medicines in series of packets. I don't think he repeated the same medicine in same potency too frequently. I don't think. Davira, can you share such things if you find in Bonninghausen writings, please?
I mean, almost every case that almost every example that he gives, he
Yeah,
repeats in high doses.
Remember
High
how we talked
potencies.
about the baby that had fallen into the fire and had their face burned so terribly, and he gave both arsenicum and pepper sulf in
Correct.
rapid
And then at the end, I
succession.
think he ended up with causticum at the end.
Yeah, this would be a really good topic to take, let's say, a few of Bonninghausen's cases that he's put out for us to read and to go over that as a topic one night. I think that's a good idea. He's got some really, really nice cases there. And the methodology is rather rapid compared to what we're used to. And it is usually in the 200, but then, he talks about Jenkin. Jenkin is an interesting character. I think this, would be a really good topic. Yeah, so example, April 12th in 1851, Nux vomica 1M and Saclac, and 1 every 5th evening. So you're having every 5 days, you're having Nux vomica 1M. So yeah, this is very interesting. And I think that we probably should make a topic of this. What do you think, guys? Like, should we have a vote on that?
Yeah, we will.
Excellent, sure.
Anybody else want to discuss some of Bonninghausen's cases?
Yes, ma'am, we will have one session, ma'am, because I want to learn many things from Bonninghausen. We will have some sessions on Bonninghausen, ma'am, please.
Right. So shall we move on to the demonstration?
Yes, sir, please.
So what are the methods you guys been using? How you use this remedy?
We simply prescribe for 15 days, sir. Rarely in for 1 month, sir. For example, if a patient asks medicine for 15 days, we used to prescribe
And
15 tablespoons of water and add a single pill of selected homeopathy medicine and add some. Uh,
how, what is the ways? Actually, you need to read dilute dose again.
yes, sir. I am telling about preparing stock solutions, sir.
Yeah.
After that, each time we requested the patient to give 10 strong questions. From that stock solution, we asked the patient to take 1 tablespoon from that stock solution after well
Mhm.
succussion. Then we asked the patient to put it in 10 tablespoon of water, approximately 150 ml or 100 ml water. We asked the patient to add 1 tablespoon from the stock solution and asked to stir it well. Then after 10 strong stirs, we asked to take the patient a single teaspoon, that is 5 ml from that.
Right.
If
Yeah,
it is
so in
satisfied,
aphorism 248, it talks about that.
Yeah. In aphorism 248, he talks about how you can use in this LM potency dosing in various types of diseases. He talks when disease is very acute, then acute, and then chronic. Right. He
And
talks
then the
mainly.
quantities.
Ah, and she as much, I mean, see, in the emergency cases you can repeat like in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. In acute condition also you can half an hour, 1 hour, you can repeat the dose. In chronic you can have dose one day, every day, or one day alternate.
Or if that even is too much, just follow through with your patient and find out when they need another dose, because,
Yeah, the
like Devera
basically.
and I both have said that we have trouble with that regular dosing. It
Yeah,
tends to
but
be too much.
we need to learn that how much dosing we should able to have to give.
Yeah, but we also
This
need to
is-
say that we have to trust our patient and what they're telling us and follow
Yeah,
what their vital force is saying they need.
yeah. When they
So
need, we should
if there's
able to
only
take.
a dose needed every 2 weeks, then we would only give it every 2 weeks. Otherwise, we're going to maybe make them miserable, because the
But you also
aggravation
have to,
comes at the end often with an LM.
Tikva, but you said the word trust, that we have to trust our patients. And a lot of times when they have the medicine in their hand,
Oh, right. I know.
they tend to know what to do. And I could tell you
Uh-huh.
that I'm guilty of it. I did that before I studied. I knew better than my homeopath, and I took the medicine when I was told to stop.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that
So,
happens. That happens. People do
so
that.
right. So one of my teachers, because of that, he only gives dry. He will not give medicine. He does not send medicine home with them. He doesn't trust them whatsoever. And I can understand why. But I do agree that we have to give one dose and really wait and observe, because a lot can happen from that one little drop, whether it's in 1 cup of water or you dilute it into a second cup or even a third, because there still could be a very strong reaction. And I would
Mhm.
not repeat daily.
Yeah, I can't fathom repeating daily. It just really doesn't seem to, it would seem to be way overkill. Maybe in places where people eat a ton of spices and you burn a ton of incense and that kind of thing, maybe that would be better because there's more interference. than telling people to be really careful with certain things. But we have to trust the vital force of the person. And, even though, somebody might be feeling concerned and want to give a dry dose so they don't give away medicine, I keep a whole stock of pre-diluted medicine that I give people, and I just give them a water dose while they're here. And then sometimes I'll send just a tiny vial with a second dose. That way they're not likely to, use the whole bottle at once, which I did have happen. I don't know, maybe 5 months ago or 6 months ago, sometime in the summer, maybe the spring, I'm not sure. Somebody drank their whole dilution bottle at one time and got diarrhea. It wasn't severe, but still, it's like, but how did that happen?
Was it an Lm potency then? Is it likely when you use an Lm potency? It is kind of a reaction.
I didn't hear all of that.
Did you use an Lm potency here, or did you use centesimal potency?
You mean when the patient drank their whole water bottle?
Yes, yes.
Oh, that was a 30C because it was overseas.
Okay, okay. So LM is LM likely to cause such a reaction? Because according to what I have read or I've heard, it doesn't cause a reaction. Then should
No,
we?
it will cause means that aggravations when the
Mhm.
patient is very sensitive,
Okay.
and we don't know who is very sensitive and who is not. So it will have those symptoms, and it will depend on how much doses you are giving. And
Mhm.
every improvement from dosing, you need to monitor if it is gradually improving. The
Mhm.
progressive improvement need to monitor, and even suggest you need to stop at certain levels. You
Mhm.
cannot go, you need to repeat doses until this gradual improvement starts.
Mhm.
Once it begin, you need to stop. In even in some doses, 2 3 doses also, sometimes when patient is very sensitive or disease is say incurable,
Mhm.
and lot of pathological changes, that time probably you might patient vitality will respond very vigorously, right? That time you need to select means make choices how much doses you should be giving,
Mhm.
right? But basically I would like to give an idea how the dose means we can prescribe or give in demonstration. The way I am making me and Tikwa actually used to this method, and she might have sometimes due to some might change, but I am using the same way of this bottle, right Tikwa?
That's right. Yeah, I'll use whatever bottles I can get my hands on.
Yeah, but basically what is intention of I need to tell you that whenever you are using any bottle of any size like this, uh, that bottle need to have at least this much space, or one-fourth of space, say more than one-fourth of empty space. So it shouldn't be completely full up till neck. There should be space so you can the fluid had lot of space to move on during succussions, right? So I use like this much amount of water, say one-fourth amount of water. Whatever bottle I am using, I use the one-fourth amount, right? Then you have such a bottles like, can you read?
Bryonia?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And to look at the poppy seeds, you can see in this how small these are, right? This is pulsatilla, I think, right?
Yeah, that's pulsatilla.
Hmm.
Oh,
So
one.
Hahnemann says use only one poppy seed. One. It is smaller than a mustard seed also. And Tikwa used to use one poppy seed. I say I doesn't feel like it's going somewhere, so I use 4 5 pills. But actually, that's a wrong method. Hahnemann suggests only one poppy seed, and believe me, that is sufficient. Okay. So whenever you are using 1/4 of water, say this is 1 liter of bottle and 1/4 is 250 ml of water it has, and it has a one poppy seed you need to put on this. Then just dissolve that fluid. Don't shake it at the first time, right? Then you had to, if you are taking 250 ml of water, then 25 ml you need to take in different cup. I don't have a cup right now in the clinic. So 150 ml means some amount of water you need to take in that different cup, and again you need to add a fresh water to that cup,
The dose can never be too small.
right? And if you are using 100 ml of 100 ml bottle, you can use only this top full of water for a dose, because this is your stock bottle. You cannot have direct dose from stock bottle. It's not suggested. You cannot only because it is liquid and you can have the dose. You cannot have direct dose from stock bottle. You need to take some amount in the different cup, then again you have to add fresh water up till that cup gets full, right? Then just stir up and have a last sip. Hold it in your mouth 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and then engulf, right? Then this is first dose which you have given without any succussion, because the potency you have been started same potency 0 by 1, right? And now the potency from 0 by 1 to 0 by 2, it will need 100 succussions. So you have to divide this 100 succussions into how many doses you have planned to prescribe for the patient. For example, you want to give and 5 doses. How many succussion you will give? 100 divided by 5, 20. Huh? For example, you need to give an 10 dose. How many succussions? 10. For example, you need to give only 5 doses. Sorry, you need to give 20 doses. Then you need only 5 succussions. And succussions should be, you need to, let me stand, but I don't know if you can see. Okay. I don't know. I will sit like this. You can hold water like this and like this. Like this. Okay. This water should be pushed back and bang down. Push back and bang down. Right?
Sir, sorry for interruption.
Yeah.
My pharmacy master used to say the method of succussion is different than what you're doing, sir. It is not. It's not a simple stroke. We have to put it. We have to bring the bottle up without
Yeah.
shaking.
No, no, no. Right. You are saying, yeah, you have to raise the hand like this and bring down like this. Huh? And
Yes,
bring.
sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We should make a round circle without shaking. Then we have to give strong stroke.
Yeah. Means you can lift bottle and the,
Yes, sir. We have to lift the bottle in
yeah.
a round motion, in a circle motion. Then we have to give a straight, strong stroke. We
Yeah.
should, yeah, yes, sir. Because
It's
in
good to use a book, like a
madam,
soft book to hit it against. That's helpful too.
yes, ma'am.
Basically, you can technique. This is technical part, and you cannot actually means teach patient, and every time patient may not do the right way.
Yes, sir.
Ah, because
Person,
he is not coming every day or every 5 minutes or 10 minutes or hour towards homeopath. Okay, give suggestion and prescribe me dose. So he has to do. We need to teach the patient.
yes,
So basically, whatever easy method that works, we can, has to suggest, right?
yes, sir.
So how many strokes, if you are giving, has to be divided from amount or doses you have planned for the right. So second dose, how will you do? Second day, you need a strong succussions. Say I have to give an 10 dose every day, one dose in the chronic case. So I will give 10 succussions and then again same way I will use a dose. Take a small amount of 250 ml of water from this bottle, stock bottle, into a cup and fill the cup with a fresh water. Stir it well, have a big sip, hold it in the mouth 5 to 10 seconds and ask him to engulf. Okay? So after 10 day means after 100 stroke completed, this will continue every dose. Before prescribe giving the dose, he has to give this stock bottle a 10 strong succussions. Okay.
Yes, sir.
How
Now,
do you know if somebody needs to dose it for 10 days or 20 days? How do you decide on that?
no, it depends on the condition whether you are prescribing for acute or chronic or subacute. It depends. You might need to stop in acute condition, or you might in to give more doses. So you need to look at the severity of the disease state. You need to look at the susceptibility of the person, sensitivity of the person, how he has been responding to remedies. It is not, especially me, I don't use LM potency at first instant. I began treatment with C potencies, and when I see this, I have good knowledge there about the how person is respond to the remedies. So it becomes a bit easy to make a choice according to the condition of the case, right? So when you finish 100 strokes, hello Tikwa, you are following?
Yes. Yeah, I'm listening. But we don't know if that person's going to need that much medicine at all.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
You need to monitor patient every day or for every dose he is having. Then you have to decide whether you have to continue or you have to stop dosing,
So
right?
then in that case, I wouldn't succuss 10 times. I would just do it once or twice.
Yeah, you can. Two strokes means how many doses? How many doses it makes? 50 doses. Whether you need to look at the condition, you need to make the decision, and you need to monitor patient every day. If it is okay, manageable condition, 5 days, 10 days, if it can go. But tell patient if he has some symptoms to report. Don't take it on to a casual like it's because I have been ate this thing or I have been outside somewhere and done that thing, so I am suffering with these symptoms. So he has to report everything. He cannot take any symptom as granted.
I
So
think it's a new idea, sir, that we should not use beyond 100 seconds. I think it's a new idea. I don't know. After my study, I didn't found that it's we should not use stock
I was
solutions
just
beyond
about to ask the
100.
same thing.
basically remember it's a just what you call root from that centesimal scale. Okay, you can give, see this is just, and how many doses you are, otherwise you might need thousands of remedies with the sorry this same medicines, how to different bottles. If you read a pharmacy clearly, you will get an idea. Centesimal scale have 1 as to 100 ratio. It jumps potency above 100. And it's based upon the same base scale.
Mhm.
So potency, you can continue giving whatever doses you need to give. Continue doses means doses, but basically it potency doesn't remain 101 after 100. It
But
moves.
even we make more than 100 seconds, it doesn't become 0 bar 2, sir. It's a 0 bar 1, but it's a sub part of 0 bar 1 only. It's not even if you make 200 seconds,
Okay.
it never become
How
0 bar 2.
these companies make 02? How many strokes, how many succussions they use?
They use 100 seconds, sir. That is different part. They taking 1 is to 500 dilution like that they using.
And
But for stock solutions, I don't think it's applicable. Uh, uh,
in
uh,
all categories been mentioned, the base remedies been used in different potencies, and he has mentioned here this is ratio And over here you will see that drug strength. It is, and where it is. No, this is trituration. And there it has, whether you are making medicine at home or at clinic, it's, and even the company is making medicine, the method is not different. We are using succussion method, and company use that, what you call, there are, what is name for that, Tikwa? Do you know that?
The succussion machine, there's a few
Maceration,
different, there's a few different types on the market.
two method. In factories they are making medicine, and it's not different than this one. It's slight different, but the number of strokes they give and number of stroke we have to give is the same.
Uh, okay, sir. I will study again. And can we hear something about regarding this from Yaswant Rao Patel?
Yeah.
Yaswant?
No, actually I have not read much, but do in various pharmacies and homeopathic pharmacopoeia,
Mm.
they have mentioned various methods.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So I'm Dr. Geeta speaking. Maybe the other one is percussion method.
Percussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, too, I don't really remember the name, but yeah, I will look into that.
I thought Dr. Patil had something to say. Did he
Who?
disappear on us? Yashantro Patil?
Yaswant gone, ma'am.
Yeah, he's gone. I thought you said that he had something valuable to add here.
Oh, Yashwant Rao.
Yeah, he is MD in pharmacy. So I will ask by WhatsApp
Yeah,
message that.
yeah.
Okay, sir. It's very interesting discussion.
And lastly, I seriously haven't used potencies beyond 01. Only bottle I buy, and then I move with the same method to 07, 010 up till we have moved.
Have you really taken a patient through 01 to 010?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
How many strokes it has to give?
No, I'm just commenting on the quantity of medicine in the same type of medicine instead of a different medicine. That's a lot.
In
How
one
about
place,
everybody else? Has
Yeah,
anybody else had to use from a 1 to a 10 in their
very
patient?
long time it's been, means I have not changed. Every time it's a patient, I remember, whom I use belladonna for his ankylosing spondylitis. A small, it's not a very adult, but he is a boy of say 13 to 14 years. And he is responding very well whenever he needs those, any some pains over back or any thighs, any joint. He just takes one or two doses with 10 succussions and then stops. And since last 2 years, he's been doing really well with that remedy.
Do you maybe need to add some calc to that or something?
the case has been began from calc.
Mhm.
He has begun with calc and he doesn't need, because we see the even the belladonna is a very short acting remedy, but still even with the single dose he is symptomless for say a month or
Is this palliating or is it curing?
what, sorry, I didn't hear.
Is it palliating or is it curing? Is the patient improving or is it just making them feel better for a month or
No,
two?
no, he is improving. His disease never been progressing. There is no calcification, and whatever calcified joints like sacroiliac joint was seen is much better in recent this period. Means it took near about to remove that calcification, say 7 to 8 months, but it's not progressing definitely.
So is the calcification has gotten better with the belladonna or it got better with the calc
No,
or both?
it's actually calcification was not progress, but it was showing that signs of stiffness without having pain. And on X-ray, there was just a shadow. We don't know exactly what was that, but it removed. It removed on the X-rays after 7 months. And now he is actually symptomless, remains symptomless for say month or 1.5 months. Whenever has symptoms, he takes 1 or 2 doses of same. But I told him you don't have to use same bottle after month. So
So
I
Sir,
huh?
in one place, Hanuman mentioned,
Hmm.
for example, uh, we using stramonium 0 bar 1 or any one medicine. Or example, we can use calcareous like belladonna 0 bar 1. If we
Yeah.
don't have 0 bar 2 in our clinic,
Yeah.
Hanuman told one technique, sir.
Hmm.
That is, for example, if you use belladonna 0 bar 1 in a patient,
Hmm.
and that patient comes after 30 days, after finishing 30 dose,
Hmm.
we don't have further higher potency, that is 0 bar 2.
Hmm.
For that, we can use, for example, that patient he giving 10 seconds every day for 30 days. So
Hmm.
totally 300 days, 300 seconds that patients gave to 0 bar 1.
Hmm.
If you want to give 0 bar 2, but we don't have 0 bar 2 in our clinic,
Hmm.
Hahnemann gave a good idea in his writings
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
we have to take 0 bar 1 we have to prepare the stock solution with 0 bar 1. Then we have to give 300 strong succussions. After that, we have to give 10 strong
Yeah.
succussions every day. This is
Yeah.
what
We
Hahnemann mentioned in his
yeah,
writings.
remember Tikwa, we also done when patients skip those doses, or we stop and we need to begin the same after some days.
Oh
So
yeah, this happens to me all the time
and
with
you need
people
to
is they,
give 100 succussions or 200 succussions before begin the dose.
right, because then you need it to be just slightly higher than where you left off with the previous dose. And this happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
It's so common that like, especially, with the remote patients with the remote work, that they'll make it a dilution bottle. They'll have a couple of doses, and then they'll do something like lose their bottle or they'll throw it away. And then I
Yeah.
have to go back and say, okay, well, we had such and such amount of medicine so far. Now I need you to make up a new one. And then I need you to succuss it 40 times before you can take it, or 50 times before you can take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to keep careful track of that because
So you
people
need to
do
have a
things
track.
like misplaced, throw away, etc. Their dilution bottle. It happens a lot.
Put a date on the bottle. Put a date on the bottle. And so if you are giving a dose per day, you will understand. Or if you are giving 2 doses or 3 doses per day, you will understand how many doses has been completed after say week or 5 days or 10 days, right?
So I have a question. If the patient loses his bottle after 0/5, that means we have to give 500 succussions, right? To reach 0/5 from the stock bottle.
Loses bottle after how many days?
After 0/5, we have progressed from 0/1 like this to 0/5, and he
Oh,
loses his bottle.
yeah. Otherwise, you have two options. Otherwise, you use 0/5 direct new potency.
If
You
I
buy,
don't have
and if don't have, you can make same dose and use 500 strokes.
300 strokes, okay, okay.
But it's not easy to give and 500 strokes. It's really hard after even we get tired after 20 strokes on your hand. And with that typical method, patient you believe that patient will really do that same way. He will just hold bottle and see like this.
You have to remember that if you're going to be keeping a bottle, like you're expecting somebody to need it for a long time, that you have to preserve the contents. So you're going to need some
Patient will
alcohol in there.
patient will not actually in condition. If he is having pain, he probably not. You need to tell some other assistant or attendant to and teach them how to do strokes. But if you are using a small bottle, it's makes things much easier. But bottle should have sufficient amount of space after you make and stock.
Yes.
But do remember, okay, so depending on where you live, depends on what you can use as a preservative in your bottle.
You can use means 500 ml bottle, or you can use plastic, 100 ml amber color bottle also.
Along with your water, you can put a little bit of vodka to help protect it and keep it
But
fresh.
never use direct dose from stock bottle.
No, don't do
You
that.
need to redilute the dose.
Yes, sir.
Give us 10 stroke, 5 strokes, or whatever amount of stroke according to the dose, and put a little amount in the cup and fill that cup with fresh water. One sip, rest amount residue you need to throw away in the basin. Right?
But actually, patient is not ready to throw that stock solution or some
Yeah,
medicines
they say we
because
have
they
paid for
paid now. They paid now, so they
so
are
I
not they are not ready to throw it. So